We interrupt normal programming on MPB for the following special broadcast. Live from the state capitol in Jackson, MPB News brings you Governor Phil Bryant's annual State of the State address, delivered to a special joint session of the Mississippi Legislature.
This joint assembly of the Mississippi Legislature is now in session. Please let the legislature come to order. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to be here on this historic occasion. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Mississippi, who will preside over this joint assembly. Please help me welcome the Honorable Tate Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It has been my privilege to work with you for the last 7 years, and I look forward to continuing to do so. At this time, I would like to recognize the Clerk of the House to please announce the committees to escort the Governor into the chamber.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lieutenant Governor Reeves and Speaker Gunn announced a committee composed of Senators Willie Simmons, Sally Doty, and Briggs Hobson, and Representatives Ray Rogers, Percy Watson, and Becky Curry to escort the First Lady and Governor Phil Bryant to the dais.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. At this time, I am going to introduce many of our special guests in the chamber today. Let me begin by introducing the House Speaker Pro Tem, Greg Snowden. My colleagues in the Senate and I enjoy working with both the Speaker and the Speaker Pro Tem as we pass legislation. At this time, I would like to recognize the recently elected President Pro Tem of the Mississippi Senate, Senator Gray Tollison. Both the Speaker and I are very, very fortunate to have partners by our sides who put up with the long, busy days of the legislative session. And so I would like to thank Speaker Gunn's wife, Lisa, and my wife, Ely, for being here with us tonight. Now, let's welcome our statewide elected officials. Please hold your applause until all have been introduced. First, Attorney General Jim Hood, Secretary of State Delbert Hoseman, State Treasurer Lynn Fitch, State Auditor Shad White, and Insurance Commissioner Mike Cheney. Please help me welcome them. And now join me in welcoming the members of the Mississippi Supreme Court. Chief Justice William L. Bill Waller, Jr., Presiding Justice Michael K. Randolph, Presiding Justice James W. Kitchens, Associate Justice Leslie D. King, Associate Justice Josiah D. Coleman, Associate Justice James D. Maxwell II, Associate Justice Dawn H. Bean, Associate Justice Robert P. Chamberlain, and Associate Justice David M. Ishii. Please join me in welcoming them. Now, please help me welcome the members of our State Court of Appeals. Chief Judge T. Kenneth Griffiths, Jr., Presiding Judge Donna M. Barnes, Presiding Judge Virginia C. Carlton, Judge Jack L. Wilson, Judge Jim Greenlee, Judge Latrice A. Westbrooks, Judge Sean J. Tyndall, Judge Deborah A. McDonald, Judge Anthony Tony N. Lawrence III, and Judge David Neal McCarty. Please join me in welcoming them. And now please join me in welcoming our Public Service Commissioners to the Chamber tonight, Brandon Presley of the Northern District and Sam Britton of the Southern District. Thank you all for being here. And now we will welcome our Transportation Commissioners, Mike Taggart of the Northern District, Dick Hall of the Central District, and Commissioner Tom King of the Southern District. Welcome to the Chamber. And now, it is my honor to introduce someone who has served in the role of First Lady of Mississippi with grace and compassion for all of our fellow Mississippians. Please welcome First Lady Deborah Bryant. And now, please welcome to this podium a man who has helped lead our state to record low unemployment, historic student achievement, and a growing economy, the governor of the great state of Mississippi, the Honorable Phil Bryant.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Lieutenant Governor. As always, I appreciate your introduction. But more importantly, I am thankful for your support and friendship over these last 7 years. Governor, you and Speaker Gunn have and continue to be exceptional leaders. I can only hope now history will properly record your collective achievements for the people of Mississippi. I expect tonight the members of each chamber will join me in thanking you for your dedication and service. Thank you, gentlemen. For the past 7 years, another leader has sat upon this stage and endured one grand speech after another. A leader who exemplifies what it means to work not in ambition or conceit, but in humility and service. In the many days between each of these annual addresses, she has gone about her remarkable work being Mississippi's First Lady, visiting the children of Blair Batson, working to build the most frail among them a forever home, reading to students in each and every county in the state and embracing them all. She's welcomed countless visitors to Mississippi's historic Governor's Mansion while directing its renovation and recovery from decades of erosion and decay. She's comforted storm victims, survivors, and helped rebuild their homes. Many responsibilities fell upon her heart 7 years ago. She's accepted them all with grace and the loving spirit of one who knows her Christian duty to treat each person she meets with a dignity endowed upon them by their Creator. Her acts have not been completed for compensation, but rather given as with a heart of love. She's been a caring mother and now a joyous grandmother. And for 42 years, I've had the honor and privilege of having her as my First Lady. I'm so very thankful for all she has done for Mississippi. Ladies and gentlemen, the First Lady of Mississippi, Deborah Bryant. I think I almost got her with that one. 7 years ago, I stood before this joint session in unrestrained optimism for our state. I proposed that night that we set aside our petty political differences and work for the good of all Mississippians. In doing so, I believe we could then dedicate ourselves to the proposition that we fail separately, but collectively we can accomplish great things. I proposed that night that we all rise together. Tonight we can reflect on that theme as more than just a hopeful phrase or wishful possibility. I assure you it was not used simply for effect, but for purpose. I purposefully called on each of you, and indeed all Mississippians, to join this administration not merely for another term of office, but for an amazing journey. One that would see dramatic improvements in the lives of Mississippians and the national status of our beloved state among those in this united republic. The question of the ages for Mississippi has been and must continue to be ever simple but profound. Can we hear this in our Beulah land possibly rise together? Can a land woven within the depths of tremendous suffering and sorrow be propelled to soaring heights by the world's great writers and musicians and entrepreneurs? And indeed chart a path to a new tomorrow, a tomorrow that forever casts aside our past of failure and self-doubt to instead accept the crown of achievement. A tomorrow where the world understands a place like Mississippi as a land of promise and possibility for all its people. My fellow Mississippians, I am pleased to say we have disappointed the doubters. Together we have proven that Mississippi can harness our inherent goodness to achieve greatness. Tonight, allow me to show you how we are truly becoming the great state of Mississippi. First, we have embraced the idea that effective public education is the most certain way to a collective and universal improvement in the lives of all Mississippians. For every single year before our work began in 2012, the children of this state had suffered from an all too often failing educational system. Now, let me be clear. Our schools did not fall or falter from a lack of teacher dedication. No one throughout our state's history has sacrificed more to better the lives of Mississippi's children than our teachers. That includes, I would suggest, all the officials who have served in either the House or the Senate or the governor's office. Of all the educational reforms proposed by politicians and all the public posturing by those wanting to be the education champion, none has done more than the teachers. They alone have been there in the classroom, often challenged and overwhelmed by circumstances beyond their control, teaching still, inspiring still, and leading children to rise together. Our gratitude to these classroom heroes and the essential value of public education are why we passed a $100 million teacher pay raise in 2014, and why I call on the members of this body to join me in giving teachers their second pay raise in 5 years. Send me a bill to authorize a pay raise for those most critical guardians of Mississippi's future, and I will sign it. At the beginning of this administration, we knew equipping teachers with outstanding training would create historic results for many students. That is why we have supported teachers to achieve national board certification. We now have nearly 4,200 national board certified teachers who can earn an additional $6,000 per year as a result of this certification. Our support has placed Mississippi fourth in the nation for the number of nationally board certified teachers. I'm prouder still of the exceptional work of Mississippi's students. For far too long, many people assumed our students were just not destined for success, that they could not or would not achieve. But we knew better. We understood the innate ability of all children to learn and grow and unlock their own potential if only given the opportunity. We also knew literacy to be the foundation of success. That is why we worked so hard together to pass the Literacy-Based Promotion Act in 2013. The concept of the bill was basic but revolutionary. It required reading proficiency by the third grade in order to ensure the opportunity for continued success and achievement both in the classroom and life beyond the schoolhouse door. My fellow Mississippians, the numbers show us the policy is working, and to great effect. In 2011, only 54% of Mississippi's third graders were reading with proficiency. With the implementation of the third grade literacy policy, we have dramatically improved students' opportunities and thus the future of our state. In the last testing cycle, 93% of Mississippi's third graders were reading with proficiency. I believe that time and results will record your passage of this act as the single most successful reform to public education in Mississippi's history. Further testament to the effectiveness of this policy is displayed by Mississippi's third and fourth grade students who are now performing so well. We are second in the nation for reading improvements. Our older students are also improving their performance and are becoming better prepared to enter the workforce or further their education. As National Chairman of Jobs for American Graduates, I saw not just Mississippi, but an entire nation struggling with high school dropout rates. When we first met here in 2012, our graduation rate was 75%. Today, 83% of our high school students are graduating, the highest number in Mississippi's history. Moreover, our work in education hasn't been limited to K through 12 classrooms. Early childhood learning in Mississippi is becoming a national model. The majority of children across this state are in child care. And for far too long, there was little improvement in educating our youngest children. Each year, Mississippi spends $98 million on federally funded daycare to all too often simply house these children. The absence of any learning component in most of these children's centers, especially in low-income communities, was unacceptable. Following the passage of the Early Learning Collaborative Act in 2013, we put the State Childhood Advisory Council to work. We implemented high-quality standards for early education. We expanded on the groundwork of Mississippi's building blocks and began to instruct child care workers on a basic curriculum that was compatible with early childhood learning programs across the state. Today, community colleges throughout Mississippi are teaching child care workers at no cost to the centers a curriculum that was designed to support the skills young children need when entering kindergarten. This concept will ensure children begin to learn very early in life, where their capacity to process information is at its greatest. We all realize that children learn early and retain those lessons and skills throughout their lives. Now, Mississippi's youngest students will be better prepared for school or successful careers by learning the soft skills necessary for any vocation. Mississippi's workforce of tomorrow is in daycare today. Together we can help them become the best in America. By 2015, Mississippi was going a step further in helping to restore and support the entire family. Implementing a holistic system to provide more than just early learning, we began to interview parents of children in publicly funded daycare programs in order to match families with other needed services like Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program. We also began to offer additional education and workforce training opportunities for their parents. This Families First platform has become a model of success for thousands of Mississippians, and one that is being emulated all across America. There's little doubt our educational system is far better than it has ever been and headed in the right direction. We now have a more robust system of education opportunities for all Mississippi children, including public charter schools, dyslexia management programs, advanced distance learning, and now even a special needs scholarship program serving the most vulnerable of our children. I want to thank you for making that possible and challenge each member of this body to continue to support policies that will help keep our children rising together. Unfortunately, a problem exists in our schools today that threatens children of all ages. It has become commonly known as the active shooter. Our schools, which once were a haven of security, have become a place of potential violence. Now, to help protect our students and those who teach them, I will ask you to pass a comprehensive plan to keep our school children safe. The recommendations come from a year-long study for effective results. If you will pass and fund the Mississippi Safe School Act, our parents and teachers and administrators will be allowed to care for our children in a safe and protected environment. Since 2012, when this administration began, thousands of Mississippi high school graduates had begun college and left without completing their degrees. The challenges of life cause these students to leave higher education before receiving their diploma. In 2017, with the help of our community colleges and universities, we launched Complete to Compete. This innovative program encourages students to return to higher education and complete their college degrees. Thus far, more than 13,000 former students have responded, and almost 1,600 have returned to college to complete what they started. With us in the gallery tonight is one of many completers, a husband and a father of three, who took up the call and has earned his Bachelor's of Science degree from Mississippi State University. He is the Director of Transportation for Starkville-Oktibbeha School District. Please help me welcome Mr. Kelvin Gibson. Kelvin. Of course, the ultimate goal of these education reforms is to nurture prosperity in generations of young Mississippians. A wise man once said, "The best social program is a job. The simple dignity of work is transformational." And I have long proposed that a good job for all Mississippians would become a signpost to success. For that reason, we have assisted the private sector in creating more jobs in a shorter period of time than any time in our state's history. In January of 2012, our state unemployment rate was 9.4%. In 2017, we broke a record by dropping below 5% to the lowest unemployment number ever recorded. Today, it is 4.7%. The better news is unemployment rate has been at or below 4.8% for 12 months in a row, and real median household income has risen by 8.4% since 2011. And just in case you're not tired of winning yet, we have 80,000 more Mississippians working today than the day I took office. Our success in growing the economy is demanding that our focus on workforce be sharpened like never before. Workforce development must be and has now become our highest priority. Dr. Lori Smith, who has spearheaded most of the early learning innovations in our state, has now, along with Dr. Andrea Mayfield, Executive Director of our Community College Board, begun to transform our workforce development efforts. Under their leadership, Mississippi was first in the nation to have a Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act approved by the United States Department of Labor. Our plan utilizes every community college as a workforce center of excellence. Apprenticeship programs couple students with private companies to help them launch careers in targeted industries in their communities. These partnerships are keeping Mississippi's industries like auto and aerospace, the furniture industry, medicine, and shipbuilding strong. Younger workers are growing where they are planted and living the American dream right here in their own backyard. These young workers have more opportunity than ever before. Today in Mississippi, we have over 44,000 job openings just waiting to be filled. The opportunities created by our economic developers in Mississippi are impossible to describe in the limited amount of time I have with you tonight. The work of the Mississippi Development Authority, with your help and support, has been nothing short of unprecedented. In the past 7 years, your MDA team has competed with the nation and the world, and more often than not, we have won. Your support in job creation and business expansion has been fruitful and has a clear and definable return on investment. In the past 7 years, MDA has helped create 35,000 new jobs and attracted more than $7 billion in private investment to Mississippi. Ladies and gentlemen, help me thank the architect of Mississippi's marketing and recruitment success, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Development Authority, Mr. Glenn McCullough. Glenn, thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Once again, the constraints of time will not allow me to provide the extensive list of companies and corporations that have chosen Mississippi as their home, or the number of local companies that have expanded. However, please allow me to remind you of some of the most recent. As we gather here tonight, Continental Tire Corporation continues to construct the largest plant in their universe right here in Hinds County. At its completion, this plant will employ 2,500 Mississippians with a corporate investment of $1.45 billion. And as you know by now, Amazon will open its new goods fulfillment center in Marshall County and employ 850 Mississippians. This innovative company has changed the way the world shops. And its fulfillment center could have gone anywhere in America. I'm proud to say Amazon chose Mississippi. Tonight, we have with us in the gallery Amazon's Manager of Economic Development. Please welcome with me Mr. Will Gausert. Will. I have assured presidents and prime ministers, chief executive officers that Mississippi works, and they have listened. From Tel Aviv to Tokyo, we've traveled the globe seeking investment in Mississippi, and our efforts are paying dividends. More than 155 international corporations now have a presence in our state. Our exports have increased by more than 259% in the last decade, and over the last several years, we have shown all the world leaders that Mississippi is more than just a river. You can applaud for that. The results of these missions produce foreign direct investment and build international relationships, allowing Mississippi to be part of the global market. With your support, we've shown the entire world that in fact and indeed, Mississippi works. From the outset, this administration identified the value of health care for the well-being of Mississippians and as well as our economy. Our effort to identify health care as an economic driver continues. Understanding that access to care must be the beginning of any good health care plan. Embracing the fact that a doctor generates a $2 million economic impact to the community, we endeavor to increase the number of physicians in our state. That's why we have put $12 million into badly needed primary care in the most medically underserved areas in our state with a rural physician scholarship program. This has placed 33 practicing physicians in rural Mississippi, and that number will nearly double by 2020. By 2013, the need for an updated, expanded medical school was obvious. With your help, the University of Mississippi Medical Center opened a new state-of-the-art medical school, increasing each graduating class to 165 physicians. This expanded campus anchors a growing medical corridor that stretches from the Jackson Medical Mall to Rankin County. And it is my hope that medical innovations within the corridor will continue to flourish now and for generations to come. In the piney woods of Harrison County, another medical community is emerging. It now includes a new William Carey University Pharmacy School and a Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College Nursing and Simulation Center. The presence of a national obesity and diabetes research center in partnership with a Cleveland clinic is also a testament to our collective determination in making Mississippi's own medical city. The visionary who has invested much of his personal and corporate achievement in this growing medical city at Traditions is with us tonight. His father was a Biloxi physician, and he has returned to help build this medical miracle in Harrison County. Please welcome with me one of America's great entrepreneurs, Mr. Joe Canizero. Joe, thank you for what you're doing. As I reflect on where we have dedicated our time and resources, I'm happy to remind Mississippians that our state of the state is financially sound and better than we could ever have imagined. State revenues are reflective of an economy that is gaining and expanding. Adhering to conservative budgeting principles, we've reserved nearly $350 million in our rainy day savings. Revenue collections have already exceeded estimates by $90 million, and corporate income tax is outperforming year-to-date estimates by over 16%. You will also be encouraged to know we have dramatically cut the cost of government by reducing the number of state employees in the last 7 years by nearly 5,000. The effort has resulted in a savings of more than $64 million to the taxpayers of the state of Mississippi. 2018 special legislative session was the most successful in modern history. A state investment of more than $1 billion over the next 5 years will fund infrastructure improvements around the state. A $38 million grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation will help complete previously unfunded projects in DeSoto and Neshoba counties. Thanks to your actions, $50 million appropriated for local bridge repair is available to counties across this state. This legislature has given them what they need to replace and repair bridges today, and has established a funding mechanism to do so into tomorrow. I am proud to announce tonight that along with our other 14 ports, the Mississippi State Port at Gulfport is finally complete. This $570 million recovery project is the largest and most complex recovery challenge remaining from the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, and it is now open for business. Last year marked the 200th year of statehood in this great nation. We celebrated with vibrant local festivities and hundreds of events, but also with the profoundly important opening of the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum and the Museum of Mississippi History. Within these buildings lies the story of our state's rich and at times dark history, there for all of us to examine with clear eyes and hearts turned full of hope towards the future. Already, more than 250,000 visitors have come to see and learn the true story of Mississippi, our creativity, our strength, our sorrows and our joys, our richness and our perseverance. They're all there for the world to see. But on this occasion, Mississippi would tell our own story. The young lady who's been the driving force behind these outstanding achievements is with us tonight. She's been a tireless advocate for the two museums in the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. Her passion for preservation and for Mississippi set her apart, and we're so very grateful for her efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, Ms. Katie Blunt. Mississippi is recognized the world over as the birthplace of America's music. From the Grammy Museum to the Max and Meridian, we continue to showcase the rich history of arts and music in Mississippi. In 2014, we celebrated that year-long recognition of our artists, again by declaring the year of the creative economy. From the birthplace of the king of rock and roll in Tupelo to the final resting place, the king of the blues in Indianola, we placed our marker at the center point of America's music. Your dedication to the arts and entertainment in Mississippi helped draw more than 24 million visitors and brought in more than $6.5 billion in the last year alone. Seven years of work and dedication and the resulting success are behind us, but our work is far from finished. One of the most pressing tasks is caring for Mississippi's children in the foster care system. We can and must do more to support the foster children of this state by providing the necessary funding to the Mississippi Department of Child Protection Services and ending the Olivia Y legal action against the state of Mississippi once and for all. Three years ago, you joined me in seeing the need to establish Child Protection Services as its own agency, accountable directly to the governor. Now, this move has allowed CPS to focus on a single mission: providing foster children with safe, nurturing care, while either working to reunite them with their families or placing them in a loving, forever family through adoption. I can report to you tonight that CPS is making great progress. When Justice Jess Dickinson courageously agreed to lead Child Protection Services, 6,100 Mississippi children were in the foster system. Today, that number is fewer than 4,900, all thanks to the improved efficiencies in the adoption process and the tireless work in healing and uniting families. Now, we have much more work to do, but what a difference for these 1,200 children to be safe at a home, whether with their parents or relatives or with their adopted families. For those families who are reunited, CPS is working in a proactive way to better assist them, such as developing new methods of helping parents released from incarceration better support their children. Perhaps the most incredible success has occurred with adopted families. The number of adopted families has more than doubled in just 1 year. CPS also works closely with the Mississippi Department of Human Services. This year, child support collections are higher than they've ever been. More than $370 million, an $11 million increase over last year. By privatizing this critical service in 2016, we have assured that those who owe child support in this state pay it. If we continue to show our collective support for neglected and abused children, I believe the federal courts will find favor with our actions. More importantly, so will God Almighty. Imagine, I asked in 2016, if we all worked together to better public education, from child care to college. Imagine what we could do together if we took the economy to record heights and unemployment to record lows. Imagine if we had a new medical school, a new medical city for research and healing, and led the nation in telemedicine. Imagine if we could fund more infrastructure improvements and have another world-class port to ship our products around the globe. Imagine if we could help lead the nation in criminal justice reform while reducing our prison population and saving more than $40 million for Mississippi taxpayers. Now, much work remains in this critical area. In this session, I will ask you to take the next step in criminal justice reform. As a former law enforcement officer, I realize some believe our innovations will be somehow soft on crime. Nothing could be further from reality. If we hope to ever lower our crime rate, we must start with the 33% that leave our correctional system only to return within 3 years. If President Donald J. Trump can pass nationwide criminal justice reform through a gridlocked and hyper-partisan Congress, surely we can do so right here in the state of Mississippi. Working together, we have accomplished these things and so much more. We've enhanced our beautiful state seal with America's national motto. For this time and for all time, the world will know in no uncertain terms that here in Mississippi, in God we trust. Thanks to the leadership of the Speaker and Lieutenant Governor and many of you in this chamber, we have protected Mississippi's religious freedom while not harming one individual or community. Our right to keep and bear arms, as assured by the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, remains firm and steadfastly defended here in the state of Mississippi. And with your unwavering support, we will continue to make Mississippi the safest place in America for an unborn child. I can assure you all this administration will not cease its efforts to rise to new levels of greatness. And before 2020 sees its beginning, we will have more accomplishments and more transformative change. We will go into a new decade filled with even brighter tomorrows. Tonight's address is not meant to be a point of victory or final accomplishment, but another step together towards triumph. As President Reagan said, the goal for all of us should be that one day things will be done neither because of nor in spite of any of our differences between us. Therefore, I say to each of you, continue to work together to do the things that are best for Mississippi. As you know, this will be my last time to address this joint session. I was waiting on an applause. This is a very special place for me. I began my life in public service in this House chamber in 1992. I started as a young man. I will finish as a grandfather. Over these many years, I've seen Mississippi make incredible progress. May not have always been perfect, but the march of improvement and advancement in our people's lives over the last 30 years is undeniable. None of us can accept credit for it all, but we can all claim the honor of toiling and striving to make our home a better place. Each of us only gets a finite amount of time to lead, a time determined by our conscience or by our constituents. My time in leadership will be ending this year, but for many of you, your journey has just begun. Let us join hands and finish this year and this decade with a spirit of action and an eye towards the future. Tonight, I reflect on the wisdom of St. Paul. I can only hope, like him, I have fought the good fight. I have run the race, and always keeping my eye on the prize, I press on towards the mark. May God bless each of you here tonight. May God bless the great state of Mississippi, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Governor Bryant. As this joint assembly comes to a close, I would like to recognize the gentleman from Holmes to dissolve the joint session.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that this joint assembly now be dissolved.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the motion from the gentleman from Holmes that this joint assembly be dissolved. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please signify by saying no. No. The ayes have it. This joint assembly is now dissolved.
And now, the Democratic response.
Good evening. My name is David Beria, Minority Leader of the Mississippi House of Representatives. Legislators returned to the Capitol last Tuesday, January 8, 2019, to begin the 2019 legislative session. There's been some talk around the Capitol that the governor may be reconsidering his opposition to expanding Medicaid. This is encouraging, as legislative Democrats have advocated for this issue for over 5 years. During that time, the governor and Republican-led legislature has staunchly opposed accepting these tax dollars back in our state and refused to accept an estimated $3 million per day or $1 billion per year. This is money that would have provided health care that working Mississippi families desperately need, could have potentially saved some rural hospitals, and would have created much-needed jobs. Democrats aren't sure what has caused the governor's election year epiphany, but we are ready to work in bipartisan fashion to help save our rural hospitals. Medicaid expansion in Mississippi would mean that the state's working poor would be provided no-cost health care under the state's Medicaid program. This would include approximately 300,000 people who work but do not receive health care through their employers and are not currently insured. Expanding the program to include working people will cover those Mississippians who fall into the gap, and we should do it right away. If we were to expand Mississippi's Medicaid program, the state will receive $9 from the federal treasury for every dollar we put up, $10 billion in total over the next decade. In addition to being a great deal for our state and the right thing to do for our citizens, expanding Medicaid would stem the bleeding experienced by our rural hospitals, many of which are closing due to budget problems. It would also lead to the creation of an estimated 8,000 to 9,000 high-paying jobs in the medical field. Medicaid expansion is what is commonly referred to as a no-brainer. Another obvious issue that we must address is infrastructure in our state. Maintaining the roads and bridges, not including building new ones, cost around $400 million per year. While the legislature put a Band-Aid on the problem in the 2018 special session, much more is needed to be done. We know that there's a huge shortfall in funding available for critical road and bridge repairs, estimated at over $6 billion. Keep in mind also that infrastructure includes much more than just roads and bridges. Mississippi's cities and counties have miles of crumbling water, sewer, and gas lines, and broadband internet hasn't yet reached much of rural Mississippi. The American Society of Civil Engineers estimates Mississippi's drinking water and wastewater infrastructure needs top $10 billion, and millions more are needed for school building repairs. The legislature will continue to address these issues, but candidly, the money won't be available unless we create new revenue. That's why Democrats will attempt to push the pause button on the implementation of the $416 million corporate tax cuts, so that money can be used to bring all our state's bridges back online. Democrats will also continue to champion a pay raise for teachers and other state employees in this year's budget. In addition to pay raises, Democrats will sponsor a package of legislation that will drop barriers to entering the teaching profession, such as allowing districts to have up to 10 non-certified teachers in core areas, allowing teachers with passing praxis scores to become certified in that area, and modifying the ACT requirement for teacher certification. Democrats have supported teacher pay raises for many years, and it is encouraging that Republicans now seem to be joining us in wanting to raise teachers' pay to the Southeastern average. However, Democrats firmly believe that teachers and state employees deserve a raise. The governor told us tonight that state revenue collections have trended upward over the last few months, which is good news for the 2019-2020 budget. But we will still struggle to fund education and basic services as the enormous tax cuts passed for out-of-state corporations in 2016 begin to suck cash out of the budget this year. You have also likely heard the governor brag about our low unemployment rate. However, that statistic alone doesn't tell the story of our economy. Mississippi had a labor participation rate of just 56%, the lowest of any state besides West Virginia, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The statistic refers to the number of people in the labor force who are either working or looking for a job, divided by the population aged 16 and over. In other words, just over half of the state's eligible workers are active in the economy. Corey Miller, an economic analyst with the University Research Center, a division of the State Institutions of Higher Learning, has said that a low labor participation rate is a sign that our economy is not performing as well as other states. According to Miller, what it really says is people don't have the skill set to participate in the economy we're in now. Despite these economic facts, the governor, lieutenant governor, and House Speaker tell us that Mississippi's economy is the best it's ever been, and they want the credit for it. During the tenure of these three men, the state's total bonded indebtedness increased to over $4.2 billion, and the Public Employee Retirement System, or PERS, unfunded pension liability surged to $16.6 billion. That's over 10% growth in bonded indebtedness and nearly 35% growth in PERS unfunded pension liabilities. Credit rating agencies took notice and downgraded Mississippi's rating. Additionally, PERS had to increase the employer's contribution rate. As conservative commentator Bill Crawford said recently, debt and unfunded liability levels and trends surely don't qualify as the best ever. During that same 7-year period, during which we have seen drastic cuts in vital agencies like the Departments of Health and Mental Health, one budget has become bloated. The operating budget of the Mississippi legislature, controlled by Republicans, has grown from $18 million to $24 million, an increase of 30%. We don't agree that this kind of increase for politicians, at the same time we cut budgets for agencies that help everyday Mississippians, exemplifies the best ever. However, Mississippi Democrats hope to find other areas where we can agree with our Republican colleagues. We hope to gain their support in an effort to improve the lives of all Mississippians in 2019 and to take steps to reverse the ongoing brain drain that is robbing our state of its best and brightest young adults as they choose to leave for greener pastures. We believe that the first step in solving a problem is to acknowledge that it exists. Mississippi is one of only a few states in the country to lose population over the last several years, and we've lost an estimated 50,000 young people over the last 5 years alone. We must work together to reverse this alarming trend. Legislative Democrats will also support election and criminal justice reforms and economic justice measures, such as an increase in the minimum wage in the 2019 session. Legislation has already been drafted and filed to make it easier for citizens to register and to exercise their right to vote, to ensure workers are paid a living wage, and to decrease prison populations and curb abuses in the criminal justice system. Mississippi Democrats are ready, willing, and able to work together with Republicans to move our state forward. We just need for our colleagues across the aisle to engage with us around our common goal of improving our state for all Mississippians. We believe that only when we work together to make Mississippi an inviting place to live, work, play, and worship will we begin to make Mississippi better for future generations. Thank you, and God bless.
You've heard the status of the state's economy and the challenges lawmakers face. Watch the debates unfold throughout the 2019 session on MPB's At Issue, where we provide in-depth coverage and analysis on a wide range of issues. Every Friday night at 7:30, only on MPB television.